Welcome to the city of Mississauga. Meet the Adams family, Mr. and Mrs. Adams, Sophie, James, and their puppy Spot. Sophie enjoys playing tennis. On the days she has practice, Sophie always takes a bag with her belongings. But on one special day, Sophie was running late for practice. She went to get her sports bag. She hurried to the kitchen to get a water bottle. But there were none left. Rushing to James' room, she asked,
"Are there any water bottles left?"
James replied,
"Nope, Mom's going to go shopping tomorrow."
"What? What am I going to drink and take to practice?"
Getting up from his game, James replies,
I don't know, tap water?
He was thoroughly confused.
Why are you overreacting? What's the deal with tap water?
There's a whole list of reasons against tap water. Purified water tastes better. Tap water isn't treated properly. It destroys your teeth. And bottled water may be more expensive, but it's safer.
James couldn't contain his laughter.
Ha! You're kidding, right? Those are myths.
Sitting back down, he said,
Here, let me show you a video. Water, the most vital component. If there is no water, there can be no life. About 70% of the human body is water, a component to just about everything needed and used in this world. The ocean holds about 97% of the Earth's water. The remaining 3% is fresh water. Imagine a world where one day there is no water. You would be unable to do the most basic things like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, cooking, and most important of all, staying hydrated. Things so common they don't even come to mind. Let's all admit it. We take water for granted. Ask yourself, through what means do you drink your water? Does it come through the tap or through a bottle? Over 50% of people would prefer bottled water over tap. Now ask yourself, why would most people choose to purchase a bottle of water over water that can be obtained more conveniently? Is it because it's safer, cleaner, or better tasting? So, if you ever wondered about tap water or water in general and the process of its treatment before being sent to your home, well then, prepare to be enlightened.
We are well aware of the way fresh water is produced in nature and how it makes its way to the sea, following the same steps over and over again. This process is known as the water cycle. There are 5 main parts in the water cycle. They are: first, water from the ocean, sea, river, ponds, or any other areas containing water gets evaporated when reaching a certain temperature, causing them to rise up high. Second, when rising up to a certain area, these evaporated water molecules cool down. This is due to the cooler atmosphere that surrounds them. Third, when the water molecules are cooled down, they form clouds. This process is known as condensation. With the help of the wind, the clouds move from place to place, collecting more and more water molecules as they move on. 4. The clouds will get heavy and won't be able to move around any longer, causing it to cool down quicker, meaning the water molecules in gas state will have a drop in temperature and form water in liquid state, which then falls down as rain, or when the atmosphere is cooler, snow. 5. These drops of fresh water then make their way to the river, ponds, or other water areas from which the entire water cycle is then repeated again and again and again. Now, a normal human being would not drink from the river directly because there are many bacteria and diseases that might and/or will cause harm to the body. To prevent this from happening, rainwater or water from the lakes and rivers are collected and is sent to a water treatment plant. In the water treatment plant, the water is purified, making it free from any diseases or bacteria that might have caused harm to the person drinking the water.
Organisms through a combination of biological, chemical, and physical processes to make it safer for drinking. Parts of this process happen in a natural setting, whilst others happen in engineered and constructed water treatment plants. The engineered processes usually mimic or build on natural processes. The importance of water treatment should not be understated. In the town of Walkerton, agriculture runoff mixed with rainwater and saturated into the ground, mixing the contaminants with the water from the aquifer. This resulted in changed water, which killed 7 people and harmed hundreds of others. This unfortunate series of events has resulted in Canadians being more careful about the water they drink. Now, water is examined daily, so in the case of contamination, widespread damage may not occur. It is desirable to treat water for a number of reasons, including to prevent pathogenic microorganisms causing diseases, to control unpleasant taste and appearance of particles, to remove the excessive color of water, to extract the chemicals dissolved in minerals.
In Canada, the responsibility for making sure drinking water supplies are safe is shared between the provincial, territorial, federal, and municipal governments. The day-to-day responsibility of providing safe drinking water to the public generally rests with the provinces and territories, while municipalities usually oversee the day-to-day operations of the treatment facilities.
3.
The guidelines for Canadian drinking water quality are important for protecting the health of Canadians because they set out the contaminants that every water system should strive to eliminate or reduce to acceptable levels. The guidelines cover 165 microbiological, physical, chemical, and radiological contaminants in drinking water that need to be eliminated or reduced to acceptable levels to ensure the protection of human health. As you can see, this table shows the maximum amount of concentration of the elements or in organic materials you can put in drinking water. The next one here shows the maximum amount of organic materials in milligram per liter that you can add. The best way to make sure drinking water supplies are kept clean, safe, and reliable is to take a preventive risk management approach. This means understanding each water supply from its beginning in nature to where it reaches you, the consumer. This understanding about the water's characteristics, the ways it could become contaminated, and the type of treatment it needs comes from collecting and studying data. Safe drinking. The management of drinking water is a complex domain. To ensure the safety of drinking water provided at their facilities, departments, and agencies, we need to consider several factors, such as the following: the water source, whether it's municipal or non-municipal, surface or groundwater, the size and location of the water treatment system, whether it's small or big, accessible or remote, the water treatment regime, disinfection or filtration, the distribution system's design, old or new, simple or complex, and finally, the operational requirements, frequency of monitoring and testing, maintenance, certification of staff. Variability in these factors will determine the level of risk of the water system and the effort needed to ensure the safety of drinking water. This includes the extent of the treatment, monitoring procedures, sampling and testing frequency, and other management actions.
Now, let's get to know more about the path from the water source to our houses. We know that our supply of water is transferred predominantly from Lake Ontario, and sometimes from private and/or regionally owned wells. Peel is responsible for 2 water supply facilities, Lone Park and Lakeview. They operate on behalf of the entire region. These plants are responsible for transferring and maintaining an adequate volume, pressure, and quality of water supplied to houses in the region. The Lakeview Water Faculty provides services to the eastern sections of Mississauga, Brampton, and community of Bolton in the province of Ontario. This faculty is capable of producing 1,150 million liters of water per day, making it one of the largest membrane treatment facilities. For the Lorne Park Water Treatment Plant, It often takes care of western parts of Mississauga and Brampton in the supply of water. The faculty is largely built underground, and the area of its surface is used for recreational use. Our waters undergo 3 procedures before reaching our homes. They include pumping, storing, and the transmission of the treated water. First step is pumping, where pressure is added as water from the lake is pushed to a higher elevated area, or in other words, pumped through a series of pipes to other pumping stations to send off to the local distribution system. In other words, water is transferred through large reservoirs and over 4,400 kilometers of underground pipes all over the region of Peel. An interesting fact is that some of these pipes are 8 feet in diameter, so a person is literally able to stand up inside the pipe. Now, if the standard pressure of water being treated is not met by pumping alone, the plant will draw water from ground-level reservoirs. Now a question comes to mind. What are these reservoirs? Well, they are ground-level large tanks that store water and play an important role in the distribution of water to the residents. Reservoirs also ensure the supply of water with stable pressure, constantly, and support the provincial management in cutting costs on energy and power. Next is transmission, where basically water faculties deliver large amounts of water through water mains from the treatment plants to pumping stations, reservoirs, and tanks. Water is often transmitted through water mains usually buried 1.5 meters under public streets. They have valves that carry the task of stopping or diverting the flow of running water.
Today, the most common way to make sure that drinking water is safe is by doing water treatment. This process requires a few simple procedures to assure that the water is safe and ready to drink. Many different water treatment plants may or may not use the same steps, or they might use different methods to help purify and clean the water. With that being said, the first process of the water treatment is called coagulation and flocculation. In this step, a coagulant is added to the water, which allows particles to stick to each other and form flocks. Then the flock particles start to sink because of their heavy weight, and this is known as sedimentation. The second process is called filtration. This process treats water by passing water through layers of sand-like materials that remove contaminants. In other words, the flock particles sink and the water above goes through the sand-like materials, which help remove unwanted chemicals from the water. Then the membrane process begins. This process was originally used to remove salts and seaweeds from the water. Now it's most commonly used to remove organic materials that make the water taste bitter and make it appear dirty. Chemical disinfection is the next process. This process is used to combat waterborne diseases caused by bacteria and viruses. This process neutralizes pathogens with added chemicals or with the help of UV rays. The most common disinfectant used is chlorine. Chlorine is an oxidizer, so it helps to remove iron, hydrogen sulfides, and other minerals that could be present in the water. Next is the absorption process. This step requires adding substances like active carbon to the water supply. This absorber attracts unwanted contaminants and are later disposed. Next is the air stripping process. This process is when air and water are mixed with the water supply. What this process is supposed to achieve is to move chemicals and dissolve gases from water to the air. The final step in the water treatment is solar treatment. It uses a natural cleansing process which helps to achieve better results. This process can also be performed in a normal household. The first being solar distillation, in which unpurified water is placed in a container and evaporated using the sun's rays. This method allows contaminants to stay behind in the unpurified water and is later discarded. The next method is called solar disinfection, in which the high temperature of the UV rays are used to kill most pathogens, viruses, and bacteria. And after all of these procedures are successfully performed, water is able to be pumped to local homes and is clean and is ready to drink.
About how much bottled water costs compared to tap water that is normally delivered to your house. The average single bottle of water that you would normally buy from a store would be around $1 to $2. If it was in bulk, it might cost the same amount depending on the quality of the brand. However, the average cost of liter of tap water being sent to a house is $0.002 per liter. It wouldn't even cost a penny. It would take at least 5 liters of tap water to equal 1 penny. Now, if bottled water were that cheap, you could buy at least 1,000 water bottles, because most water bottles contain 500 milliliters. Now, the average cost of water being delivered to your house, it could be as high as $150 per month. Now, converting that amount of money to liters would be about $75,000. That could make at least 150,000 bottles of water. Of course, assuming each bottle of water costs $1, which would altogether cost $150,000 in total. If you were to use that money to buy tap water, it would supply you with water for over 1,000 months, which is approximately 83.3 years. Literally almost a whole lifetime.
Also, take a minute to think of all the luxury items you could use with that money. You could purchase the new Hyundai Accent, the Chevrolet Sonic or Spark, and perhaps even the Ford Fiesta. You could invest in a company, save up for your wedding, so many possibilities. And that's the money saved for bottled water per month. Imagine what could save you if it were over a number of years. And looking at all the evidence of how normal tap water is being treated, it's just as clean as bottled water. So there is really no point in buying bottled water, as it just empties your pockets of good money. In fact, there are actually some proofs on why tap water is even better than bottled water. A document was published on the National Geographic site regarding the topic and mentioned that first off, the Canadian and US community go through 50 billion water bottles per year, and most of the plastic water bottles aren't even recycled. Also, when plastic containers for bottled water are being made and transferred, they emit a lot of fossil fuels. Now, how bad can that be for our environment? On top of that, experts say that bottled water are in no cleaner conditions than tap water, and almost the exact same components are put into them. In addition to that, if a plastic water bottle is used only once, it will release PETE, which is a normal resin used in plastic containers. However, since many people constantly reuse the plastic water bottles, DEHA, which is a possible human carcinogen, also BBP, which is a potential hormone distributor, come out from the plastic and down into your throats. Also, since the plastic is porous, you'll have potential harmful bacteria also being swallowed. According to Columbia, plastic water bottles are being filled at public water sources, which is basically tap water, and then selling them for 2,900 times the price. Now, think about an ethical choice. Do you really want to spend that much money on bottled water and drink it, given all these proofs? Don't only save your money, but save your health.
Bottled water has been around for more than a century. When chlorination of water began making tap water consistently safe to drink, sales of bottled water began to drop in the early 20th century. In 1997, when Perrier launched a $5 million marketing campaign for imported water, this started a whole new era for the business of bottling water. It went from luxury drink to mass commodity in 1994. When Pepsi launched Aquafina and Coca-Cola followed soon afterwards with Dasani. As companies put more bottled water that contained normal tap water on the market, prices dropped and sales rose. Suggestive advertising and aggressive marketing techniques allowed for bottled water to be seen as safer and more pure than what you could get for free, or at least close to it, from your tap at home. Some manufacturers even went so far as to claim bottled water as being more environmentally friendly, but this is not the case as was demonstrated. Tap water is regulated and checked every day and goes through tough standards and procedures, all while being more economically and environmentally efficient. Knowing all that you know now, would you choose to buy bottled water if tap water was available?
Oh, now I understand.
Yeah, you see, tap water isn't bad after all. Oh, but you must go, or else you'll be late to your game.
Oh, that's right. I should get going.
Wait, but what about your water?
Oh, I'll just stop by the store and buy a bottle of water.
What? Didn't we already talk about this?
Oh, James, I was just kidding. I was planning to fill a bottle with tap water.